что как-то так 8 марта мы встретили в Пальмире.
Wagner is Putin's instrument for resolving issues by force, when action has to be taken immediately, urgently, and in the most concealed way possible.
Wagner is a diffuse network of different companies and individuals that conducts everything from private military activity, training, direct combat support, to political interference. And it does that in collaboration with the Russian state. It helps the Kremlin to execute on its foreign policy objectives at a lower cost and with a greater degree of deniability than if regular Russian forces were being used. I really focus on those where they have an active military presence, an active sort of political interference presence. Those include Syria, Central African Republic, Madagascar, Mozambique, Mali, as well as Libya. They've been active in other places, and then they claim to have activity in a few others. Ukraine is also important historically. That is really sort of the genesis of the Wagner Group, is in Ukraine. The Wagner Group has been accused of a wide variety of different human rights abuses. Some of those are better documented than others. In Syria, we know specifically from video evidence that the Wagner Group was involved in the torture and execution of a deserter from the Syrian military. Those individuals have never faced justice. That court case is ongoing in Russia, but the Russian authorities have demonstrated no real interest in pursuing it.
An unarmed man taunted and tortured by 4 Russian-speaking men in military fatigues. One of the men was identified in a 2019 investigation published by the independent Russian paper Novaya Gazeta as an alleged member of Wagner.
In places like Sudan and the Central African Republic, there are widespread reports of violence against civilians, all of which become more consistent with each other. And I think point to a broader sort of pattern of abuse, particularly in their approach to counterinsurgency. The result of that is that there's arbitrary detention, summary execution, torture, general abuse of the civilian population. Yevgeny Prigozhin is a Russian businessman. He got his start in the food industry, and he made his fortune basically doing major catering contracts for the Kremlin and the military. Prigozhin is alleged by folks, including the US Treasury, to be basically the patron behind the Wagner Group, as well as a series of sort of interrelated political influence operations, most infamously the Troll Farm, as it's known, the Internet Research Agency, which is famous for its involvement in US election interference.
Но если, повторяю еще раз, они не нарушают российского закона, они вправе работать, продавливать свои бизнес-интересы в любой точке планеты.
Private military companies are not legal in the Russian Federation, which means that there is no specific entity that is the Wagner Group LLC. Because of that, and because of the sort of murky legal status of the employees of the Wagner Group and the Wagner Group as an entity overall, it's really hard for there to be any kind of legal accountability.
Маємо інформацію про те, що у Київ зайшли диверсійні групи ворога.
With the Wagner Group, there's always a lot that's uncertain, and I tend to be really skeptical of most claims. Writing about the Wagner Group, reporting on them, researching them is really hard because they actively misrepresent what they're doing. They will say that they are places that they're not. They will attempt to inflate their own capabilities and the size of their forces. I do believe that the Wagner Group is present in Ukraine right now, even if it's there under a different name. The Times report indicated that there were Russian mercenaries that were active in Kyiv, who are basically attempting to kill Zelenskyy and a number of different other high-ranking Ukrainian officials. To me, that is plausible. We've also seen reports, I think originally from the New York Times, that there were Wagner combatants active in eastern Ukraine. that is a little bit more consistent with their normal activity, where they'd be working alongside proxy forces.